All right, I think we can get started. My name is John Thibodeau, and I'm the president of the board of DCNA. And why don't we start? Just everyone go around, just say your name, maybe what street you live on, and I'll kind of point on people just to kind of keep it flowing. So why don't we start with you, Bobby?
Bobby Cope, I'm on the board. I live on Concord Street.
Great, thanks, Bobby. Zach?
Hi, Zach Enright. I'm the recorder for the DCNA, and I live on Fuller Street.
Great, thanks, Zach. John?
This is my first time in these meetings, but I also work at the University of New England, and I work closely with Eric Morrow, who's one of the guest speakers tonight, I believe. Thought I would chime in, and I see some familiar faces. I live on Best Street.
Great, welcome, John. Scott?
Hi, Scott Siegel. I live on Alba Street, and I am the treasurer.
Thanks, Scott. Allison?
I'm Allison Kenway. I live on Richardson Street. I'm on the DCNA board.
Thanks,
No
Allison.
other title.
Amy?
Hi there, I'm Amy Thompson. I'm on the DCNA board and I live on Leland Street.
Thanks, Amy. Terry?
Hi, everybody. I'm Terry Petnov. I live on Leonard Street and I am on the board.
Thanks, Terry. Colin?
Hi, this is Colin Epps. I'm vice president of the board and live on Maple Street.
Thanks, Colin. Charles?
Hello, I'm Charles. I'm a citizen of Portland, and I live on the corner of Mabel and Hamlet.
Great, welcome.
Thanks.
Let's see. And Carolyn, we can't see you, but can you hear us? All right, well, welcome, Carolyn. And I guess we'll turn it over to our city councilors for tonight's community conversation. We have District 5 City Councilor Mark Dion and District 4 City Councilor Andrew Zarro. And so I'll just turn it over to you guys. You can talk about anything you'd like for maybe up to around 10 minutes or so, and then just kind of open it up for question and answer discussion. Or if you want to do it sooner, you can as well. Just kind of leave it wide open to you guys.
Go ahead, Andrew.
You're too kind, Counselor. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Zarro. I am the counselor representing District 4. I live on George Street, so I'm about a 4-minute walk from the Deering Center area. But it's really nice to see all of you. Thank you for inviting us tonight. Typically, I like to listen instead of talk about what I'm doing, but I'm happy to give you, I guess, a brief, hey, this is what's going on in my life, if that's what you would like, but just honored to be able to participate in your neighborhood meeting.
That's it? My God.
Well, I wanted you to give an introduction too. I don't want to take all the airtime.
I was trying to catch my breath because I just ran in with the dog and lost track of time. I said, oh my God, I'm going to be late for this meeting. So, and I was able to squeeze in making a quick cup of coffee so I don't start coughing on you from a dry throat. Anyways, Mark Dion, District 5 Counselor. I live out on Allison Avenue. I've lived in Portland since I was 17 and came down here for the university. My daughters both went to Deering High School, so I have connections there. Back when I was dating my wife, she lived on Alba Street, so I have some idea of how the streets work out there when I was driving at night. And I work with Andrew on a number of issues, so I think we can go through some of those. I'm happy to speak to all of you. For those of you who don't know my background, I did serve for 21 years with the police department, so neighborhood meetings were part and parcel. The higher up I got in the hierarchy of the department, I was always the person tagged to go to the neighborhood meeting and try to explain what we did or didn't do. And then I was sheriff, then I was your senator. I was up in the legislature for 8 years. So I come back now to serve the city as a city councilman. I'm very excited. It's kept me busy. I've told my colleagues in Augusta, there's actually a lot more work to do here in the city than we have up in the Capitol. And part of the reason for that is this type of meeting this evening. Once you're in Augusta, constituents seem so far away that it's almost, their existence is almost theoretical. And unless they're really avid watchers of the political scene, they may or may not know what you're working on. But I have found since I've taken office, and I'm sure Andrew would support this, politics is like up close and personal. So when I do my food shopping or go about my business in the city, I run into people and they can talk to me directly about what's going on as far as the council is concerned. So I feel there's a certain immediacy that legislators don't benefit from. So they wouldn't go to a meeting like this because it wouldn't happen as part of a legislative experience, very rarely. So I want to thank the board for inviting Andrew and I this evening to have this conversation, because it helps keep us real. So when we're doing our work in the council, we've had some feedback that helps inform our decisions and our positions. So there you have it. There's the thumbnail introduction for this evening. And damn, it's cold out there tonight. Like, you know, what's happened? Where's spring?
Maybe 70 on Saturday. So
Well, I hope so.
Go to the beach. But I couldn't agree more with what Mark is saying. It's hard for me not to say Councilor Dion. You know, we are first responders in municipal government. We are oftentimes the first people to show up on an issue because it is so personal and you're our neighbors. A lot of my work is in, you know, working with the Back Cove Neighborhood Association when I moved to Back Cove, and listening to your neighbors and what's important to them, and that's a lot of the work that you're doing. So I already know a lot of not a lot, but I know of some of the issues that are of concern to you with, you know, Baxter Pines, Baxter Woods, and you know, you have an amazing little downtown hub in Deering Center. And you know, obviously we get to overlap as counselors in supporting your work and what you're doing. But I think this is some of my favorite part of it so far. And how long has it been in our freshman class so far, Mark? 4 months, 4.5 months?
It seems like 4 years though.
8 years, I don't know. But like, this is always the best part because I actually get to see people, even though it's on a Zoom screen, and say, hey, what matters to you? And you know, what's something you're working on, and what do you want to see? I remember the last DCNA meeting I attended a month and a half ago. You had a high school student who is doing all of this design work, you know, placemaking. I mean, that's amazing. Like, that's the sort of work we need to continue to highlight and support, because you know, civic engagement honestly is hard to come by sometimes. And I think apathy is you know, we need to avoid that at all costs in municipal government. So getting folks to show up and be engaged, whether they are in agreement or in opposition to whatever the issue is, like, that's caring. And that's really important to me. So I feel like I'm rambling at this point. Is there anything in particular you all want to talk about?
I just want to build on something Andrew said before we get into this conversation. I've never used the word apathy. I find that my friends, my neighbors, those who I come in contact with in whatever capacity I was serving, is that they're busy with their lives. They're busy raising their children, having some kind of interaction or responsibility discharge as far as their spouses are concerned. If they're older, they're worried about their kids, their parents. They're mowing the lawn, painting the house, taking care of bills, trying to figure out what's going to happen next month, next year. And they kind of defer to people like Andrew and I to take care of some of the things in the background to assure that their life can be relatively uninterrupted. You know, so I think for myself, and I suspect it's the same from Andrew, we want to move this city forward, but we recognize, as my father once told me, you're spending my money when you're making a political decision. So be aware of that. And I know people sometimes come to an issue late in the process, and they're not necessarily aware of the process, and the process seems designed not to benefit their interests. And I subscribe to that notion, and it's unfortunate, but bureaucracies create rules, and the rules get played out whether you're paying attention or not. So I think the most important thing I do as a council person, and my colleagues are the same way, is to try to make sure the playing field is fair and try to account for the fact that you might enter a political game late. But politics, I mean, today I probably spent half my working day on city issues, nothing to do with my practice of law. Thank God I'm my own boss, so I can tell myself I can devote that time. But issues for the city happen every day in many different arenas, and all the councilors try to do the best they can to attend to them. So I would close with this, because my wife would chuckle, she's in the other room. This is a part-time job that takes a full-time commitment and doesn't lend itself to neat little hours described on a website as to when we meet. I think if we're effective as counselors, we're spending a lot of time trying to gather information from our constituents and trying to understand the problem so that we make a better vote on the council. So would you agree with that, Andrew?
I agree with that. And I'll just add another quote that I don't know if you remember saying to me a few months ago when I was seeking boundaries of, a part-time job with a full-time commitment, that you said downtime is a state of mind. And it's
Yeah.
true, because we're always on and we're always responsive. And that's, I think, Mark, myself, and April are the three newcomers to the council. And it's not common that you get a third of the council turnover here in Portland at the same time. But I'm honored to be a part of the freshman class with my colleague here, because I think we are really all are in it to be responsive to our constituents and show up for you, whether or not it's an issue that's of importance to you. So that's my reminder to, always make sure I'm reaching out to you, but just a reminder to you that please always reach out to us. We love
you. You have to reach out to us. And I think in order to close out this introductory phase, I'll tell you what I've been involved in, and maybe Andrew will do the same. Since I've been on the council, I've been assigned to the Health and Human Services Committee. And as part of that work, I've been focused largely on trying to resolve our next steps with dealing with homeless individuals. And at the forefront of that discussion is whether or not we're going to realize a homeless services center out on Riverside Street. The other issue that's come before us has to do with the needle exchange. We're the only city trying to deal with the opiate crisis in this proactive fashion in order to limit the transmission of bloodborne infectious disease. We have a lot of people captured by that illness, and we're trying to do the best we can there. The third part has been, and it's a recent issue, is we're trying to consolidate all our health and human services activities under one roof. And we're proposing to site that at a building on Upper Forest Avenue, 39 Forest Avenue, right near the Portland Stage Company. So that's what I was working on this morning. We're doing a lot of outreach to residents and organizations within the art district to try to explain to them what we're doing. And some of that's accomplished in meetings like we're having right now. Some of it requires face-to-face conversations that are more intimate and more free for open discussion. That's what's going on there. On the finance side, we're trying to put together a budget that recognizes that we're trying to get out of this pandemic, and we don't want to burden taxpayers with increases as they're trying to recapture some sense of normalcy around their individual finances or their business finances. So we're really aware of that. I'm also co-chairing the committee that's trying to spearhead the school construction projects that are going across the city. And I think my role is to try to balance what people expected when they voted for the bond issues and our capacity to pay the debt service. Sometimes I think some of our friends and neighbors vote for bonds, but don't realize that we should call it a credit card. And those payments will start coming due, and we have to manage that inside the overall budget. So
I'm gonna just let's step in, Mark. I really appreciate all that you're sharing too in your introductions. Just for a little bit of an eye on time, we should just kind of open it up and ask folks to ask any questions, pose any points or questions they want to make, and I ask that they do that to try to keep it short, so we can have as many people participate as possible. So thank you both for being here tonight, and for taking the time. I know it's a extremely demanding job and doesn't get paid a whole lot. So why don't we open it up? If you could physically raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or say something. Naomi.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for coming. I just wanted to introduce myself because I sent you an email a couple of days ago or a week ago at this point. And there are a bunch of us on the call who all live near Baxter Pines. We've been for 2 years with Portland Trails and the Parks Department working on placemaking, as Andrew Zarro, you said so nicely, around all the contiguous green space in Deering Center. And this spring, the Parks Department implemented part of their forestry plan in Baxter Pines, which is the little bit of woodland, naturalized woodland next to the football field. And unfortunately, the weather and soils didn't coordinate well with that. And unfortunately, the little woodlands is now without the paths that it had originally and is sort of in a bit of a rough shape. And the Parks Department's been working very closely with us, and we're trying to figure out how to reestablish those paths. But so that's just, I don't want to take too much time, but we would really love so much. Mark, it technically falls into District 5. The green space literally is the center of District 3, District 4, and District 5. But the woodlands belong to you, Mark. So we would love to have you out whenever's convenient for you to take a look. We'd just like to have it on your radar. We have a really good group of volunteers who's active in trying to work with Parks Department to see this through, but I think it's going to take some resources at some point, and we just want to keep it on your radar. That's all. I guess that wasn't a question technically, John. I'm sorry. That was a statement. Thanks so much for all you're doing.
Do I get to respond?
Sure, make it short.
Make it short. God almighty, I was slapped down already. I'm going to be very humble now. Yes,
you can come out and talk to me as long as you like.
I know. Naomi, I would say this, I'd be happy to do it. Let's try to schedule it for a Saturday.
Sure.
I try to leave that day free to do those kinds of things. So happy to do it.
Okay, I'll reach back out to both of you and see when for a nice spring Saturday walk around the park.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Other questions or statements? Not
I'll just-
everybody at once. Scott.
I'll make a plug, if that's all right.
Why don't we go to Scott first, and then maybe a few answers.
I didn't see Scott. Sorry.
That's all right. Snuck my hand in there right at the moment you started talking, Andrew. Sorry about that. And I don't know if this is for the two of you or if maybe somebody else within the city, but I think one of the things that when projects happen, whether it's the work at the Pines or the work at the cemetery, or when the work on the Mother House was going to start, or new developments or zone changes, or where things are going to be, excuse me, work's going to be done in a particular neighborhood. If there's something in that process that's consistent with just and this isn't a complaint, but this is just more of just trying to understand, like, is there something in that process that, hey, we need or should check in with the neighborhoods, not without like, hey, there's a project coming up in 3 months, we're gonna have this giant sign that's gonna let everyone know. You know, that's probably not realistic, but just having something to give folks forewarning so that we can be part of the support system and what's gonna happen and not be kind of shocked when it does. And I think, Mark, you mentioned earlier, which I think is just like really key to it, is a lot of times it's just the timing of things the way they are. You got somebody that's got a work list to do and they're going to start on it. And, you know, they check off the things in their list. And then the community, even though the project might have been planned out 4 years before, all of a sudden it's here and we're sometimes surprised by it because it's kind of late in the game when that part happens. But I didn't know if you guys know if there's an actual, like a community outreach process when things are going to be happening in parts of the city, or if it's just depending on who's in the leadership in those projects to whether to consider that or not.
Go ahead, Andrew.
If I jump in on that one, Scott, really great question, and one that I feel like has been maybe the most frequent that has come up since we've been serving this session. Short answer is yes. Anytime there's a significant project going on, there needs to be engagement in the community. So, and that goes through the planning department process. So we'll ask, I'm on the Economic Development and Housing Committee, and you know, almost every single time we're having a conversation, one of my top 3 questions is, have you engaged the community? What does that engagement look like? Have you talked to the neighborhood association? I don't know if you've looked at what's going over in Back Cove, but we are fully under construction because of stormwater. And I made sure that the neighborhood association here is one of the first go-to to get that information and share it with neighbors, because most people have the same question when it comes to this sort of thing. They just want a heads up. And yeah, sure, they may have gotten a flyer in the mail, but as Mark said, life gets in the way. People get busy, and it's nice to have an additional reminder. So short answer is yes, that's supposed to be part of the process. It doesn't always happen as seamlessly as it should. But that's when I would say, if you have the capacity and you have a question about a specific issue, loop in one of your counselors and we will absolutely make sure staff gets on it right away. It's usually one of those things where it may have fallen through and it's our job to make sure that it gets back on track.
I think that was a good example, Scott. Tree cutting over at Evergreen caught people by surprise. When I was informed, I ran it down at City Hall. And I think that the plain English was, they thought it was a done deal. It had been pre-decided. They just went out and did the work. And sometimes when you do the work every day, you don't realize it has high visibility, high context for people in the neighborhood. So I have talked with the manager. I talked with the parks director and the cemetery director to just remind them that, look, a little heads up to the councilman, whether it's Andrew or I, would be helpful so that we can pass it on to the neighborhood association. So you're not driving down New Street and say, oh my God, what the hell are they doing? You know, you shouldn't have that kind of experience. So I agree with you, and it's a work in progress, but I wanna credit the resident who got a hold of me really quickly to say, what's up? Because then we were able to go to work and Andrew and I got to the bottom of it. So thanks.
Thanks, guys. Other questions or points that folks want to make?
So
hold on, Scott. Is there anyone else?
Yeah.
Scott goes again. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll make this really quick. And thank you for that information. So my daughter, I don't think, Mark, you were on the last, I don't think you were on the last meeting when my daughter Emily presented the crosswalk project.
No.
But Andrew was. So just to give you a quick heads up. So in early June, she's going to have students working in groups painting the 4 crosswalks at the corner of Ludlow and Olympia Street. Columbia. Sorry.
I said Olympia, we're in East Derrick. Go ahead.
I'm off a little bit. Yeah, Columbia and Ludlow, and then also the crosswalk that goes from the parking lot of Daring to the athletic field.
Okay.
And the colors are going to represent certain things, but in part of it, it's an art installation. But I just wanted to give you this group a couple of quick updates. One is that she got a Painting for a Purpose grant to pay for any materials. It's an amazing, very easy process if any students in the community want to do something like that. And then connected with Maine Paint, who's providing all of the paint for free because they have a new product. And so they're going to work with us with that stuff. But she would have presented something here, but she's not here tonight. So I just thought I'd share that. But this might be one of those things where people might love it, but someone also might call you and say, where did this come from and what happened? So we will, at the conclusion of that project, there'll be something that will go on the fence that will show the design and what the meaning of the design is. So folks going by will understand what it is.
Scott, I think it'd be helpful if someone sent Andrew and I an email outlining the project for two reasons. One, we can inform city staff just to remind them it's happening. Second, it sounds like a wonderful project for Jessica Grondin, our public affairs person, to work on and do a media piece on. I mean, your daughter and her friends and colleagues should get a little recognition for that. I think that's kind of the good news that a city does, and she should be highlighted for that. So if you can give us that information, then Andrew and I can get it out there and possibly use it as an announcement at a city council meeting as a way to have people pay attention to that effort.
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna guess it's in your emails about 2,500 emails ago. So I will send it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'll make sure Emily sends it. So thank you.
All right, we're getting really close to the time here. Any last quick question or comments? All right, I have one. So I just want to thank you guys for joining us. I do have some sense of what the life is like as a city councilor, where it's probably about 99 to 1 negative to positive ratio of feedback. It's a tough job, and I appreciate you doing it and taking the time to be here. I also want to let you both know you're welcome to our meetings. We don't have them every month, but most months. And we send it out on an email. You're on our list, so you're always welcome to join us. Also, if there's an important issue that you're working on that you want to share, we'd love to have you. You can come here and tell us about it. We do put these on Facebook, and we also share the video on our email list so people can see them that way. And I guess that's really it. Just wanted to thank you, and you're always welcome to join us. And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting as well if you'd like, but no pressure.
I just want to close with a real quick comment. The people living in Woodford's Corner and people that are affiliated with Morals Corner are looking to you as the beacon of what a village center looks like, and you should take a lot of pride in that. I'm proud of Deering Center. To me, it's the kind of neighborhood village center that we should do whatever we can to replicate in other parts of the city. I think that's what makes Portland unique. We're a city of neighborhoods, and you're kind of the flagship. So I just want you to know other people are looking to you and how you manage the center as a guide for what they might do in their respective corners. And I know it's something Andrew and I will be working on in Woodford's and Morals Corner, and we'll be looking to you, all of you, as mentors about what we should do there. So thank you.
Second that. No pressure though. Everything you're doing
Right.
is amazing, and we appreciate all the work you do. The last thing I'll say quickly, I don't know if you saw it today, we launched a pilot program for composting in the city, which is a huge deal. It's hopefully step one towards municipal composting. If you want any information for you and the neighborhood association, I'll gladly send it out to you so we can get more people composting here in Portland.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you both, and you're welcome to stay, but if you don't, have a good night.
Well, hold on, one thing. This
Sure.
is my ask. If you have any feedback around parking issues as we move forward with the Longfellow School construction, I'd appreciate it, because it's one thing building the building, but I realize the parking for staff and other folks might have an impact on the neighborhood. So anything that you can send my way so I can make sure that's properly managed to meet your interests as well, it would be helpful to me. So thanks, good night, and I appreciate this opportunity. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Great.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. All right. So. Oops. Just 1 second here. So next on the agenda is Eric Mora from UNE. And so a similar format, Eric's gonna present for maybe 10 minutes, discuss and what's going on with the UNE, and then we'll open it up to questions and discussion. All right, take it away, Eric.
Thanks, John, for inviting me. You guys can all hear me well? Okay, great. I'm also going to share my screen because I've got a little bit of a presentation I'd like to share. It essentially is kind of a snapshot of what we've submitted to the city for our institutional overlay zone. What I'll do is I'll give a little bit of some feedback on what the institutional overlay zone is. I think the last time that I was in, I literally just talked about some of our projects that we're targeting. And I think a lot of it was prompted from the news release of our L Fund Foundation gift that we received back in October, which was really great news. But it's kind of spurred a lot of discussion and thoughts on our planning. So I'll jump right into it. So the city back in 2017 created an ordinance that allowed the 4 major institutions in the city of Portland, Maine Medical Center, Mercy Hospital, Northern Lights, USM, and UNE, to create a mechanism where we were able to share our development plans, but also streamline the process to allow an easier and more streamlined process on development moving forward. The city has never had an institutional zone in its ordinances since its inception. The University of New England has been on that campus since 1831. Before that was even part of Portland, it was Westbrook. That's why it's called Westbrook College. Then it became Deering, and then Portland. So right now, the UNE campus is under 5 zones, 2 residential zones, 2 industrial zones, and 1 business zone. The only zone that really allows educational use is the business zone. And we only have 2 properties within the business zone. It's 1075 Forest Avenue and 812 Stevens Avenue, the old dental clinic there. Our upper campus, where the main campus is under 2 residential zones. Every time we do a project, we have to go through conditional use. City has to spend time and effort. We have to go through some exhaustive efforts to kind of work around those zone issues. So the city understood that there was issues. We are not the only ones that had issues. Maine Medical had issues. Maine Medical, I mean, was in all residential zone up there on the west end. USM is an all residential zone, and Mercy Hospital was all in residential zone. So the city kind of looked at us and looked at our 4 institutions and said, we've got to do something. Let's come up with something. And Alan Tebow from our office is actually pretty instrumental working with the city on getting this process put together. So we're in the middle of it right now. I'll go through a little bit of the description of what the city of Portland has indicated purposes for this overlay zone. And I won't go read everything line for line, but let's pick out certain things. So the first is that they know that the academic and medical institutions in the city play a prominent role in the health and well-being of our local regional communities. And they want to make sure that they foster that growth for us to be able to provide the future workforce, especially in the healthcare industry, where we know we did a study that we've got so many doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals that are going to be retiring over the next 5 to 10 years. We need to be bringing those new people to the industry. So they're looking at it to be as flexible and allow us to change and grow with all the technology that's coming out. They also are encouraging us to be proactive about our development so that we can do things like today, that we can let you guys know what our thoughts are, so that you guys just don't hear about it like when it's at planning board or they're going for approvals. So that's one thing that we want to do, is try to get us out in front of as many people as possible. They also want to make sure that our change in our growth meets the neighborhood's kind of the fit and feel of the neighborhood. Like Mark Dion just said, it's a unique neighborhood. You guys are within an area where you've got really heavy residential. As you go down towards Morrill's Corner, the university kind of acts as a buffer before you hit that Morrill's Corner and that Warren Avenue industrial and business zone. So we look at our campus as somewhat of a buffer between your residential neighborhoods and the kind of that area's industrial and business zone. So we want to try to keep that buffer, and also our developments need to keep with that neighborhood look and feel. Support the formation of mutual beneficial public and private cooperation. The way we look at it is our students are working rounds at the area hospitals. They're working with the clinics. They're working with the Mother House, the Park Danforth and stuff, and they're working with those entities for healthcare. And we also look at ourselves as stewards for the environment. One thing that we're working with now is in these development plans is working with Portland Trails to look at expanding their trails and be able to help them connect their trails better. They've got an extensive system in Evergreen Cemetery. They've got extensive systems in Daring, the North Daring area, but all of those have to filter through Morrill's Corner. What we're thinking is that when we develop our roadway and stuff down to the parking lot at Bishop Street, we're going to allow those trails to extend down through there. So they're only going to be crossing Warren Avenue to get to those trails and not have to go through Morrill's Corner. The fifth one is that we've got to, this is kind of forcing our hand to increase our public engagement, coming to your guys' neighborhood meetings, talking about concerns, setting up an avenue where you guys can contact us. I mean, Zach has been excellent working with me and trying to get that connection there. We're going to try to improve that with all of the neighbors in the area. The sixth one is the city has a 2030 comprehensive plan. It's a very extensive plan. And what we needed to do is match our future plans and our development plans with that comprehensive plan. There's a lot of things that go with that. There's things like environment, historic resources, economic growth, and transportation. All of those things have to match, because if we're not on the same page, we're not going to be able to work together. So we understand that Morrill's Corner is needing some help. We understand that our growth will impact, and we're going to do our best to try to impact that as least as possible. And I'll get into some areas that we're actually been kind of guided towards by the planning department to try to mitigate any issues. And then finally, the last one is their effort to try to provide us a balance so they can meet our needs without having to make undue issues with trying to make us jump through hoops that have to be done because of the zones that we're in right now. So we're working with them, we're working with the neighbors, we're working with everybody to try to make sure that we develop the right framework for that overlay zone. So one thing I do want to make a point is this is an overlay zone. It's not a zone change. So the overlay zone is a zone that like literally overlays the existing zones. So the existing zones are still the underlying parameters for the zoning, but this will allow us to do certain things with like setbacks and heights that would otherwise be a little bit difficult with some of the other zones. So real quickly, in this picture, the green dashed line is our property. That's the property that we are considering for the overlay zone. The two other properties that I mentioned, the business zones ones are the 812 Stevens Avenue here and 1075 Forest Avenue. Those are not going to be part of the overlay zone. It's just going to be the stuff that's to the left of Stevens Avenue or the west of Stevens Avenue. From our upper campus down to the industrial area where it used to be Pike Industries pavement plant, which we now use as a parking lot. Right now, we're in 5 zones, like I mentioned. The 2 red zones are business. We're in an R5 zone in the upper campus, R3 zone in the middle part of it, and the 2 industrial zones down at the end of down at Bishop Street. Again, this overlay zone will adopt one set of framework, setbacks, heights, and stuff that will govern this zone for us. I showed this at the last meeting we had with you in October. This essentially is in this submission. We had to kind of project out what we thought we were going to be doing, even if we don't feel it's a high priority or even a high probability of building. They wanted us to get it on this plan. I think when I met last time, we talked about some high priority ones and some low priority ones, and I'll go through that real quickly. Some of the high priority ones are, again, the one that we talked about last time is our College of Osteopathic Medicine. Moving that college up to Portland is critical for us to be able to provide the right education for our healthcare professionals. Right now, the College of Osteopathic Medicine is in Biddeford. All the rest of our healthcare profession curriculum is in Portland. The nursing, the PT, the OT, the pharmacy school, the dental school, social work, all of the nursing, they're all up here in Portland. And what we're seeing is that the interprofessional education is going to be key. Teaching these students how to work with all the other different healthcare professions during their education and not waiting to get into the field to learn how to work with doctors working with nurses and all those people working together. So we feel it's very important to do that. The other thing that's driving it is technology. We need to get to the next level with our technology. Everybody understands that telehealth, digital health, online, remote exams, that's the wave of the future. And the state of Maine has really come to us and said, you guys have to start teaching doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals that technology, because there's a lot of underserved folks in the state of Maine in the rural areas that aren't getting the right healthcare. So we feel that it's going to be important for us to create a high-end technology school, state-of-the-art. So that's what we're planning on doing. So that A1 is the first project that we're targeting, and that's the one we're in design with right now. That's the one that the $30 million that we got from Alphon Foundation is the seed money to get us to get going on that. That's not even half of the amount of money that we need. So we're still in the mode of generating fundraising for that. The next project that I'll point out is a facilities maintenance building down on Bishop Street. As you all know, the National Guard is still in the back of the armory, the old armory. We need them out of there. But we can't get them out of there because their new space in Saco hasn't started because monies for that project has been put on hold for the last 5 to 6 years. They have now freed up that money. They're doing their design. They're got about a year or two to work through their design, and then another year or two for building the building. So what our plan is to move the Guard off of the Stevens Avenue and have them down on Bishop Street so that we can move forward with our project. There's a few other ones that are on a little bit of a higher priority, is to 1075 Forest Avenue. Right now, only about half utilized. We've had a program in there, UNE North, that's kind of struggled a little bit, and we need to kind of inject some effort into that. So we're planning on potentially doing some renovations to that building. 812 Stevens Avenue. Right now, it's been just a burnt out dental building. We're planning to put some renovations to that and make that like an office building for those non-student centric office functions for 10 to 12 employees. The other stuff that's kind of a lower priority that the city wanted us to at least get on the plan, but aren't really high priorities. I mean, the likelihood are pretty low. One is a new recreational athletic community type center down on Bishop Street next to the facilities building. That would be taking place of the old Finley Gymnasium. The Finley Gymnasium, if needed, could be renovated for more office and academic space. That would be the first step that we would do, is to move them down to there. And then if we needed to build more classroom space, this is an if, they wanted to at least get it out there, it would be another smaller classroom building in the rear of the upper campus near the art gallery. And then the final one, which is probably the lowest priority of all, is some potential for graduate housing on the campus. Although we've been doing a lot of surveying of the students and of the area, we feel that there's just a lot of availability of rental properties in Portland that we don't think there's a demand. At least we're projecting out 4 to 5 years, 6 years for that. So that's kind of the development plan that we've kind of placed in front of the city. I'll go really quickly through some other stuff. Some of the specifics that we got in with our submission was what changes in the overlay zone. What does that mean? Well,
Eric, I'm gonna step in. Just, we have to have an eye on time, and we have other parts to the meeting as well.
Okay.
So we're about 20 minutes in on this, and maybe if it sounds like you might need more time, and maybe we could come back and you could come back to a future meeting as well. I'd like to open it up for people to ask questions or make comments. And if there aren't any, then maybe we can continue. But just for the sake of time, I think it's important to have the opportunity for folks to speak up. And if you wouldn't mind going back out of the screen share, just so I can see everybody for a second. And then we can go back to it if we need to. Thank you, Eric. So just wanted to check in with folks. Any questions or thoughts that people would like to share so far? Zach?
Yeah, I had a question just about once the new medical school building is built, is there, I mean, I guess my question is around parking. Parking has always been an issue along Stevens Ave there, and also those neighborhoods that kind of abut Stevens Ave. I'm just wondering about what plans are for increased parking, whether that Bishop Street lot is the plan, or I mean, my concern there too is that people just tend to avoid that parking in that parking lot at all costs. So I don't know. I was hoping you might address that.
Yeah, can I go back? Can I share my screen again, John?
Yeah.
So the plan is part of the A1 project is to develop. Right now, we only have a little section of this back parking lot that's behind the armory. We're going to pick up about 150 parking spots in that area back there. The roadway that goes down, Zach, right now is just a one-way road. We're actually going to build that as a two-way road, two directional road with a walkway, lights, call boxes, cameras. And then we're actually building 400 parking spots down here. It's going to be a real parking lot, not parking in the gravel lot, right? And then we're going to continue the shuttle up. But what we're actually thinking is that because, you know, most people now are up here in this upper campus, with us building this new building right here, it's a little bit short of distance. And I think what people are going to do is they're going to gravitate to this parking lot, come down here, and then they can't get a park spot, park here, walk up if it's nice, or take the shuttle. The one thing I do want to make a mention before we ask the traffic, what we're feeling is that if we keep the traffic on our campus so that people aren't going back and out through Morrow's Corner, if we can keep that traffic coming and going up through here, we're going to be a lot better mode of trying to keep people out of Morrow's and then having people exit out of Warren Avenue and heading back towards Westbrook to hit that area over there. So we're hoping, we feel that we've done traffic studies talking about what's coming out of UNE now for traffic and what's going in and out of our driveways and what, the increased student headcount with COM coming on. And we feel that we're going to mitigate a lot of it here with this.
Great. Terry?
Yeah, Eric, I was wondering how many students are we talking about here when it's fully, when you have all 4 years or more? How many students are we talking about?
Yeah. So how the medical school works is it's a 4-year program. The first 2 years, the students are on campus. The 3rd and 4th years, they're in their rounds. They're not on campus. So it literally is 2 classes. Right now, those classes are 120 students each right now, but they're looking to increase those up to about 180. So they're going to increase it by about 60 students each class. So there'll be about 380 students.
And how many students do you have on campus currently?
Oh, I should know that number. Probably about 900 to, about 900 or so. That's all WCHP, College of Pharmacy, dental hygiene, dental medicine. Yeah. So.
That was it. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Naomi? Unmute yourself, Naomi.
I never thought you'd ask me to unmute myself. No, I'm teasing. I'm a little bit of a loud person, Eric.
Okay.
Thank you for that presentation. It's really wonderful to hear all that's going on. And I know it's a master plan, so there's a long time. But on that, the traffic flow, and maybe I missed it, or maybe it's not part of the infrastructure plan, but we're so committed in this neighborhood to remaining a walking neighborhood and a biking neighborhood. And you did mention the Portland Trails connection and that the trails will connect out to Warren Ave as well. I'm wondering if you've thought about or if we could have you consider shared electric vehicle charging stations, shared vehicles, shared bikes. And then if you're considering any of those things, considering opening those shared platforms to the community, because we'd love to have, folks visiting our town center and enjoying all of the amenities, but we'd really rather not have more vehicle travel that isn't pedestrian or bicycle. So to the extent we can limit that or engage with you to minimize that, that'd be an awesome institutional neighborhood partnership.
Yeah, that's great, Naomi. Once the city is done reviewing our submission, they're going to put it up on their website. But we had to actually do a one whole section on transportation, and one section of that section is about alternative transportation. What are we doing to really promote the metro bus line, all of that stuff? Also, our bikes. Provide facilities for bike storage, not just racks, but, covered storage where people's bikes are staying dry. But also, talking about how do we increase the charging stations? Right now we have, I think, John, 2 or 3 charging stations down at Bishop Street. We're going to integrate more. We're going to integrate some more up on the upper campus. This parking lot behind the comm building is going to have charging stations. It's just ramping. I mean, I've been here for about 5 years, and when I started, we had 0. Now we've got like 6 sets down in Biddeford. We've got 4 sets here. So we are going to continue that. And I think our efforts are going to be to open up those for use. I mean, it doesn't make sense for just them to sit there just for our use. So I see us opening up that partnership and being able to not only allow the pedestrians and the trails to come through our campus, but also to allow all of that other stuff to be opened. So.
Great. Thanks, Naomi. Other questions or thoughts? Scott?
Yeah, I just have a really quick question, Eric. This is kind of a short-term question. The field that's behind the campus, it's like an athletic field, or it was?
Gulliver's Field. Yeah.
Yeah, what's it called?
Gulliver's Field.
Yeah, so I played there when I was a kid. Is that still a field? Is that still a usable field?
Well, it's still a field. It's there's locals that still use it. The folks that are on Mayfield Street, they're still out there using it. That's where I showed on the plan that the potential for a housing development would be. Yeah. But it's still there. It's just not a sanctioned, like people don't reserve it and stuff, but it's still there.
Is it something, so just my reason for asking, and the city's really short on fields, and the one at the Mother House that's going to be eventually, well, it's being rented, but in another year or two, it's going to be gone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If the field, even for a year or two, for some of the local teams that are kind of getting pushed off these athletic fields, I was just curious if that's a possibility to.
Yeah, Scott, let me get back to you guys on that, because that decision will have to be made above me.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, if it's there and it's usable, you know.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, well, just about at 8 o'clock. Anyone have any last second, very short, quick question or comment? All right, we're gonna wrap it up there. Eric, I know you probably have more to share.
Yeah, John,
really appreciate
definitely want to come back, because I know that things are going to get more and more developed, and being able to share this is going to be great.
Okay, I'll follow up with you too. Maybe there are some written materials we can also share with our email list and Facebook page too, just to help disseminate some of this information.
Yeah, I could just send you this presentation.
That would be great.
Okay.
All right. And thank you very much for taking the time and answering questions as well.
Yep, thanks all. Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye, Eric.
Bye.
All right, so we're going to continue with regular board business, exciting stuff. Let's get started with the minutes from last month. Is there any discussion or suggested changes for the minutes? All right, I see none. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from last month's board meeting? All right, thank you, Allison. Do I see a second? Scott? All right, all in favor? Everyone except Bobby?
I'm abstaining because I didn't have a chance to read them, so.
I'm just kidding. Okay, great. So moving along. So Colin, you had asked about having this on the agenda tonight, filling a current open board slot. I know we talked a little bit about it last month. I'm just going to toss it over to you. You can share what you were.
Yeah, happy to. So I wanted to introduce Charlie. Could you introduce himself at the top of the call, who is a neighbor and somebody that I think would be a great rep on the board. I'll let him speak for himself, but I think he's interested, and it would be great to have fuller complement of board members and some blood to replace some of the folks that we left. I can vouch for Charlie as a stand-up guy, and I will let him speak for himself at this point.
Go ahead,
Hello.
Charlie.
Thanks. Those are kind words, Colin. I stand up most of the time. I'm very community. You know what? I tried to join the board, but you guys didn't want me last time. But that's okay. No, I'm joking. But I'd be happy to fill a position until the next elections, and I'm actually really excited about learning kind of the ropes of what it means to be part of a board and that kind of stuff. I'm definitely interested in it, and I want to be more involved because I think it's important. I think it's cool how, you know, obviously community is so important, and you guys are doing the behind the scenes stuff, and I'd like to definitely be part of that. I went to a Quaker boarding school for high school. I my parents have hosted a potluck at their house for 20 years, and community involvement and just being around my neighbors is really important to me. So being more officially involved would be great. And I hope that you can, you know, if you have a need to see more board members, then I'd love to learn the ropes. That's for sure.
All right, thanks, Charlie.
Yeah.
We'll just open it up, I guess. If anybody wants to say something or ask a question, or just gonna open it up.
I'll just say Charlie's the most neighborly neighbor in the world. So I think that there is no more neighborly neighbor for a neighborhood association, but so ask a hard question, Zach.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, Charlie, if you could just maybe just tell us a little bit more about you personally, you know, I mean,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, my wife is from this area. She moved here and she was 13 or so, and went to USM a little later in life. She's a professor at USM now in women and gender studies. So she drew me to Portland. I'm from central Massachusetts, and I'm a train conductor for Pan Am Railways, which is the freight trains that go through town. I work in South Portland, and I've been doing that for about 17 years. I'm getting kind of tired of it, but it's fine. I'm thinking about making the career change to Pat's Meat Market, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm a super liberal. I don't know if that's a thing. The Quakers, that kind of feel. I don't know if you know a lot of Quakers, but I'm not Quaker myself. But I really like what they're doing, and I agree with almost everything that they stand for. So I spend a lot of time making sure that my neighbors are happy and good and doing and they have what they need, and I try to help out everywhere I can. But I do have 3 kids. So Charles is 7.5 in 2nd grade. Hazel is 5.5 in kindergarten, and then Sylvan is 5 months old. And so that's why I look tired. And I am tired, but that's okay. I'm generally a law-abiding citizen, and I don't know. It's kind of me. I just plug along. I'm not wild. I play music.
And you ran for Portland Water District.
I ran for Portland Water District.
Clean campaign. Wearing water.
Yeah. I didn't realize that Levinsky was a household name in Portland. And so that I think the odds were stacked against me, but that's fine. He's a great guy too, you know, and he's our neighbor. I don't know. I really like just being visible. So like if somebody's walking down the street, I always introduce myself, and I always say, hey, what street are you on? You know, are you visiting? Can I help you? You know, whatever. And that's just kind of how I've lived my whole life, though. So
Thanks.
That's all.
No, that's awesome. It's great. Just want to make sure, Bobby, you had your hand up before.
I ask, what street do you live on?
I'm on the corner of Maple and Hamlet, right at the very end, and the yellow house that now I can't remember the people I bought it from. Whose names were, but we've been there for 5 years now, I think. And sometimes the chickens get out and they're running around. That's generally how people know where we live.
I saw your chickens the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not on purpose. They get out. But it's fine.
Any
I mean,
other-
if they get eaten by a dog, that's their own fault.
Any other questions for Charlie? Okay, so we have one board opening, and I actually think we're gonna have a second, I think, by the end of the week. Sheila let me know today that she's gonna be stepping down. So we'll have a little bit of flexibility here. So I guess maybe just do a little bit of a straw vote first of all. So for the board, if we were to fill it, it would be filled until the next organizational election, which would be, hopefully we'll do it in January annual meeting. So basically it would be fulfilling Monica's term till our next election. And if we did vote for Charlie tonight or another time, he could also then run it at that point as well, but it would be opened up to everyone. So if we could just a quick straw vote here. Do people want to fill one of the open board positions tonight, I guess? Quick. All right, so I see everyone's hand. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to have Charles Shattuck Hydorn fill the board vacancy currently until our next election at the annual meeting of 2022. And can I have a second? Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, Zach and Terry, all in favor? All right, you're on board, Charles.
Great. Well, now I'll second me too, then.
You do have something to learn about boards, Charlie.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm gonna have to learn a lot, so bear with me.
And do you prefer Charles or Charlie?
I go by Charlie most of the time. Charles is my dad and his dad and my son, so everyone, you can just say Charles and somebody will answer.
Yeah, I will
At
say.
the risk of, yeah. At the risk
go
of sounding like a weird stalker, I was thrilled to see your face here today, Charlie. So I'm
Thanks.
really glad to hear you're going to be on board, the board.
Why, yeah, it's a good face. Yeah.
Great.
Thank
I
you.
will say I had some reservations. I thought you might be a little too funny and too nice, but
Yeah. Luckily, I'm too tired to be funny.
all right. Well, welcome aboard, Charlie. And either I or others will follow up with you just about kind of the ropes. It's not too complicated.
Great.
And it's great to have you on board, and thanks for your interest. And
Good, yeah. I do want to start a open mic that happens monthly or something like that, but we'll get that on the next minutes maybe.
All right, great. All right, well, let's keep moving. Oh, we're doing well for time. So we tried this last month as far as looking at an alternative date for our monthly meeting, and the doodle poll was not conclusive. There was not enough people who could work on the same day to make a change successful. But I know this isn't a great time, so I've just, while we're here together, I thought it was worth revisiting and just seeing if we can get a date. And if not, we can just keep with what we have. But what I'm wondering about is, let's see, either the first Wednesday of the month, the second Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, or the third Wednesday. So I'll just maybe just walk through that. The first Wednesday of the month, how many people would that work? How many people would that not work for, I guess? Just Amy?
No, it would work for me. First you asked
would,
would.
Yeah, if it does not work for you, raise your hand.
Right.
The first
Sorry, can you
Wednesday.
say it again? Which one not work?
The first Wednesday of the month. If it does not work for you, if you could raise your hand. So that works for everybody? Okay, let's just keep going. For the second week of the month, a Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month.
Does not.
If it does not work, raise your hand.
Are you speaking about next month or as a general rule?
In general, but I'm assuming we'll probably take some months off in the summer and other times too, but in general.
I couldn't do that next month, but as a general rule, I could.
Okay, and Amy and Zach could not do that. Okay.
Correct.
With the second Wednesday of the month, would that not work for anyone, the second Wednesday of the month? Okay, because there's a couple of people not here tonight. So the second Wednesday works. And the first Wednesday works. Okay. The last one is the third Wednesday of the month. If it doesn't work, raise your hand. Wow, okay. So basically Wednesdays are a good day, it sounds like. So the first, second, and third Wednesdays of the month work. I'll connect with Dennis and I don't know if there's somebody else missing. But I'm thinking that's probably gonna work. Okay.
As long as it's definitely at 7 o'clock, right? No earlier.
Yeah, this seems like a good time for folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do any of it as long as it's at 7. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we'll try and do that for next month then, and I'll try to move quickly on this to confirm it. Thank you. That's good to get that kind of done. All right. Okay, external communications. And I think this is a good thing that's come up. It's come up in a couple of different circumstances where just different people are talking to different public officials and they're just not aware of the other. And we have, at this point, we'll have, I think, 3 active committees functioning as of this month. So it's a good sign that people are doing stuff and they're communicating. But I think we just need to make sure to coordinate a little bit better. So the way that the bylaws work is we're supposed to only have one person who is the representative for the organization speaking publicly, and that's the president of the board. The president of the board can then delegate, which I'm very happy to do. And so I don't think this was complicated, but I think we just got to kind of have a formula that we can use and that we're all comfortable with. So I'm going to throw out, I thought a little bit about this with Colin, and basically, for example, like I might interact with city councilors or other people on behalf of the organization, and I need to know if other people are doing the same thing because we could just cross our wires. So if committees are gonna have any sort of communication with city staff or officials, I think if committees can, first of all, just kind of self-govern themselves. So to make sure that if a committee member makes a communication, that the rest of the committee is fully aware of it, they're on board, and everyone knows what's going on in the committee. And then if you're going to do a specific ask, or something of significance, just run it by me first. I'll get back to you probably within a few hours, just in case there's something else, a conflict, or there's something else happening. And just so I'm aware too, if I'm, I may be about to communicate with them about something else. And I will get back, I can say within 6 hours at the most, but probably sooner than that. And then if there's any communications with those folks, just to CC me as well, just so I'm aware of it and I won't be tripping over stuff. So how does that sound as far as just a functional communications for committees in the organization? Is there anything wrong with that or ways to make it better?
Maybe John, well, writing it down afterwards, which I'm sure you're going to do anyway, but just making it, not just a bullet in the notes, but actually if you could write a paragraph. And then the other thing was, in that maybe kind of, not define significant, like, it doesn't need to be a dictionary entry, but, examples of what that is. I mean, I think one obvious one would be elected officials. That's an easy one, but like, what about city staff? What about, I don't know, business leaders? you know, so just help us. I don't, you can't, there's no way you're gonna be able to define it for everything, but at least some examples would be helpful. And then maybe something that's not significant, like, you know, neighbors.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. My only thought about it is I think it's great. I think we should just do it. And I think it's really great if you write out the rules, because then it becomes a little bit easier to figure out, you know, where the lines are. And I guess my new thing is we all just need a lot of grace. Like, I feel like that is the learning of the past year. And it's such a small town that we're going to run into people who are business leaders, elected officials, like in the course, because we're friends with them, or because our other lives intersect with them, right? And so I think we should have a good policy, and we should have it, you know, put out there so everybody who's working on something as part of the neighborhood organization knows like what they're supposed to do. And then I think we should have sort of some fail safes to be like, sometimes it's not going to work that way, and just have the grace for each other to sort of, as soon as you can, let everybody know what happened. You know, you ran into the mayor at, you know, a friend's dinner party, and you mentioned, you know, whatever the thing you were working on, and they said, oh, call this person. You know, like, let's have the rules, let's do it, let's keep each other informed. And then let's also just realize there are going to be times when we don't do it perfect, and that's going to be okay too. And then as I was saying that, I was just realizing the other thing that always used to happen with the DCNA, you guys are much more organized and efficient than I ever was. I'm a little bit of an anarchist. I'm wondering if there's some place where like people just wouldn't get back to each other, like just because life took over, right? So you'd send it and people would be like, oh, I'm really interested in that thing you're working on. Like when we were doing the garden, everybody was really interested in it, but then they got dissipated on the things they were working on. And sometimes we needed to move on something and people hadn't gotten back. And so sometimes we did, you know, like we got a huge donation, somebody was about to move earth, and we kind of made it happen. And I guess if there's some way, you guys are having much more regular meetings, and I think that's great, and that's going to probably be the best thing. But I'm wondering if there's some, like, is there internal bulletin board or some other way without filling people's emails that you can sort of post when something's happened?
I've got something for you, and this is going to be great. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the application Discord, DISCORD. It's a very light application. It can go on a phone or a computer or any kind of thing like that. It is it's mostly used for organizing video games or role-playing games or something like that. But it is it's a really great. It's tough because folks that don't want to deal with technology might have a hard time navigating it. But maybe a little class or a lesson on how it works would be helpful. But it is a centralized place where you can have only members in it that are invited, and you can make different rooms, different chat rooms really, that keep a constant record of everything that's been said, basically. It also is a video hosting, like a web, it's like a hosting thing where we could do this kind of meeting and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's a light application, but it does take effort to learn it, and you know, not a whole lot. I mean, you just click to the room that you want to post in, and you could have a room that's titled "What's Up with the Woods," or you know, or the gardening whatever thing, and you could have each project have its own thing, so that you're not getting an email that's you have to read 7 replies in order to figure out what the email's talking about. You know, it's all right out in front of you. It's really, really handy. People could investigate that and see if that's a good thing. I use it for my whole life. I use it for every organization thing that I do, and I do a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, which seems like it might be a game to most people, but it's also a way of life. And I just want to bring. I don't know if you all know how hard it is to get a D&D game organized. It's very much like herding cats. So.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. Any other thoughts or?
I'm just suggesting we could look at a few of these. Discord, WhatsApp is the one I use for multiple things, and you can create different groups, and that might be already on some of our devices. Slack is another one. Yeah.
Okay, and so you're thinking about this being for committee communications?
That's what Naomi was suggesting, right?
I was just wondering if there was some, I really like it, and now I feel like I've overcomplicated something. Like, I think I think we were really in a good place where it's like, John had a really good proposal that we all agreed to. And I was just saying yes, and a little grace that we're gonna mix it up. And then I introduced this new complicating factor, which I think I want to withdraw temporarily so that we can like have gotten something really good accomplished.
Also, we don't actually, each committee can decide what it wants to do, right? So,
Yeah.
so like, yeah, I don't think we need to regulate that across the whole group.
Yeah, and technology can be a barrier for some. So I appreciate that, Naomi. I think those are all good points. So we'll kind of portion this out. As far as what I suggested for communication, are there any other tweaks or edits just to that concept? And I will write something up, okay? So let's just do a vote on that first, and then we'll move to those other things. Let's see, the verbiage here. Make a motion to use, well, Colin, do you have any advice here on verbiage? You're good with this, better than I am.
Zach's got something.
Do you want to write it up? Do you want to write it up first, John, and then we can have a motion to accept that?
Yeah, yeah.
I think so. I don't think there's a rush. I think everyone's bought into the intent. So
yeah,
maybe we can do it via email as well. I think simple administrative stuff like that. Okay. As far as, I think that's a great idea, Naomi and Charlie, and let's leave it to the discretion of the committee. So Green Space Committee, if you guys, and I agree, Naomi, too, it's hard to keep track of in email format. So if you want to explore what's a good medium for you guys, and other committees can do the same, I think that's great. Bobby, I see your hand.
Naomi is not on the board, is that right?
That's right.
So would Naomi, she wouldn't be restricted by what the board rules are anyway, right? Would that be true?
No, she would be. So she's a member. Well, she's restricted. She's restricted like all of us.
Couldn't she talk to anybody about anything? She's not on the board.
Yeah, I can talk to anyone I want about anything as myself, but the work that we've been doing on Central Park has been done, started when I was on the board, is being done and hosted by the DCNA. And I feel it's completely, I think you guys bring tremendous, I think having an active neighborhood association brings tremendous validity to the work that I'm working on with the neighborhood association, and I'm still on the Green Space Committee. So I think that's all legal. I haven't read the new bylaws. I'm sorry. I think maybe I did. But thank you, Bobby. Yes, I will continue to talk to anyone I want to. But on this, I'm really appreciative of being a piece of this organization and all the work that you guys do all the time, the service you're putting in to keep it alive and in front of people. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Naomi. But Bobby, it's a good point though. So yeah, all of us can talk to whoever we want to, whenever we want. And there's nothing about that. It's just when we're talking on a committee. So the Green Space Committee, membership committee, the merchandise committee. So just if you're on that committee doing that work, make sure you're on the same page together. And if you're going to communicate with a public official or a significant official, just run it by me first. And that's all. It's just underneath the umbrella of organizational work. Does that make sense, Bobby? Yeah, okay. All right. Anything else just about this or anything else? Scott?
Yeah, John, it was actually going back. First off, Charles, welcome to the group. And this may be something for a future conversation, but I was thinking, I was looking at all our mugs on the camera here, and I was thinking about some of the groups that are out there and their makeup of committees. Maybe down the road we might want to entertain bringing on a high school student to our committee. Just because I think that could be a really, I noticed like when I watch the school board meetings and some other organizations I'm involved in, it brings a different aspect when you have a high school student. For them to be able to kind of be in a leadership role and go back and talk to their friends and their high school community. And, you know, we have a high school in our neighborhood. That's a big part of our neighborhood. So just not something we have to do now, but something that, you know, when we're looking at the bylaws or looking at the board makeup and stuff, if that's something that folks might want to entertain.
Thanks, Scott. It's a great point. And currently, you can be on the board if you're 18 or older.
Right.
Any age can be on a committee. And we can also amend the bylaws to change the age. And that, when Stephen Coe, Bobby's husband, was working on that, something we actually kind of went back and forth on. I think we did at the committee too, of 16 or 18. We could revisit that too, you know, again, especially where we have a high school right here. So that's a great point, Scott.
I mean, a high school student may not want to hang out with any of us, but
we're really cool though, right?
We are a cool group. Yes. But,
We just
you know,
got cooler as Charlie's
Yeah,
on.
I was
here.
gonna say, I got you covered. Don't worry, guys.
So you guys can cover that.
I do think it would be great. I mean, again, I'm not on the board. I'm just on the meeting. But there's a lot of, in the whole diversity, equity, inclusion work that's going on, and a lot of the work I've done in environmental justice, there's a real movement to have people whose lives are affected by the decisions that are being made centered in the conversations. And quite honestly, we're the center of the school system here, right? We've got a high school, middle school, and elementary school. And so I think having, they call it adultism, like we're very adultist in this group, and having bylaws that start at 18, I think it's worth thinking about whether some of those 16 to 18-year-old high school students shouldn't be engaged in the community conversations about, you know, it's really the center of their lives too, and the decisions that are being made. So if you guys go down that path, I think it would be a really good idea.
And one thought too is maybe even recruiting for committees too, like especially with the green space, that can be a kind of a natural way. And if younger people do get involved, that could kind of maybe push us in that direction or help push us in that direction.
Good pushback, John. Yes, and I do actually think that we have made some outreach to the Deering High School, and then pandemic, that's just my answer to everything. Pandemic, then we fell down on it.
All right.
I do know that I knew a lot more when I was 16 than I do now. So that you know, they're a good resource.
All right. Any other thoughts? Or we're right at 8:30, so we're right at the end here, but any last thoughts or anything?
Just thank you. Gratitude for all you guys have been doing.
Yeah.
It was a great meeting.
Good to see you, Naomi, and thank you for all your contributions. All right.
Well, one last thing is that we're working on a date for the candidates forum for the Charter Commission, likely May 20th, but only one of the two candidates has confirmed. So we're still looking for a timekeeper, right, John?
Yeah.
But because we don't have confirmation, you know, we'll ask again once we do. That's it on that.
Thanks, Colin. All right. Anything else?
Porch Fest?
Let's
We're
wait
having a meeting.
another month, right, Amy? Unless you've got news.
Right. Well, we are the Porch Fest committee. I've never officially called us committee, but the committee is meeting next week. And I'm waiting to hear back from the city if they have any thoughts yet on, you know, if we can go. So yeah, next month, because I think we're going to have to make the call relatively soon.
I'd love to join your committee.
I love it. You're on.
Yeah. Is it just you?
No, no, there's others. Yeah. That'd be
Thanks,
great,
guys.
Charlie. You're on.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
John, how's the merchandise going?
I think it's going okay. I don't think it's going great. I'll do one more reminder. The store closes on Sunday, so if you want to get a tote bag for $10, or t-shirts or sweatshirts, all kinds of nice colors. It closes midnight Saturday, I think, or midnight Sunday. Should know this. But yeah, it's I think it's just going okay. But
Is this a new batch?
it's a new batch. Yeah, we have really light spring colors for t-shirts and sweatshirts, and tote bags, canvas tote bags with the logo and green handles for $10. It's on our website. You can see it.
That might be worth another Facebook post or something because I didn't know about it.
Yeah, I'll do that probably tomorrow. It's on the website as well.
Great.
Okay, let's wrap it up, and I'll try to confirm the next month's date, hopefully by the end of this week, I guess tomorrow. I guess that's it. Good to see everyone.
Great.
Okay.
It's really nice to see everyone. I've missed you. It's good
have
to
you
be back. Yeah. Bye.
All
Bye,
right,
guys.
bye.